Ladies and gentlemen, this is internet personality Vangelus, and it's time to face the ever-present vortex of pointlessness that is life, the universe, and everything. Just kidding, we're gonna check in on Dead End, the Deluxe Stunticon nihilist from Combiner Wars Wave 2, so go grab a black turtleneck and a beret, cause it's time to get dark. Dead End turns into a Ferrari of sorts, except not really a Ferrari, more like a pseudo-Ferrari. Anyway, the colors are a rather attractive combination of metallic maroon and metallic gray, and yes, there is one big obvious problem going on. There are two pieces of gray molded plastic that could not receive paint apps for one reason or another, and they stick out like sore thumbs on either of Dead End's doors. It doesn't ruin the car mode for me by any means, but it's certainly one of those cases where repro labels got handed a project idea on a silver platter. The paintwork on Dead End's alt mode is pretty good for the most part, with delicious silver rims and a lovely bronze stripe running along his upper surfaces. The headlights and bumper get some basic picking out, while the taillights and rear etc. go paintless, as per 2015 usual. Dead End's pipe weapon can store along either side of his car mode, not really blending in whatsoever. You can also stick the pipe sideways onto the back of the car, but look, the pipe never tries to hide itself. And nor does the hand-foot gun, plugging onto the roof with no Dead End specific engineering whatsoever. It's only a bummer because the other three Deluxe Stunticons got extra touches beyond a simple 5mm roof hole. Dead End has a lot of transformational similarities to break down, except that I feel like many of his went in a much better direction. His legs have a unique flip-unfurl reflip that extends them without leaving outward hollowness visible. His shoulders rotate up a lot like breakdowns, except without all the stop-and-start specific order of operations stuff. And while his head and chest are also on panels kept inside of the hood, which shifts back into a backpack, all of that stuff happens so much more cleanly on Dead End. I really like transforming this guy. It puts a smile on my face, which admittedly is probably in opposition to what the character would want. Oh well. This is a really good looking robot mode. It's a touch of a departure from Dead End's prior, partly in having a less blocky chest design, partly in having door stuff on his shoulders, and partly in being hell of maroon everywhere. I like the change myself, as the silhouette is dead center up my alley. Like Breakdown, Dead End's combiner connector is mostly covered up by a separate chest flap. Also like Breakdown, Dead End's hood turns into a backpack, except that it does so about 20 times more effectively. Unlike any of his fellow Stunticons, Dead End does kinda lack feet. At all, but listen, they're implied, right? Those little nubs, they look a bunch like some scene in G1 that I found in Google image search, so his unsubtle box shins just don't bug me that much, alright, but man, they might bug you. Dead End's head sculpt is all the way into the G1 animation look, and I love it. His visor has these little jagged edges along the bottom, and there's just enough paint to define the face from the helmet from the optics. Dead End's hand-foot gun peg works nicely with his shoulder ports, but man, something went wrong on a micrometer level in how it plays with his fist holes. Like, it barely does at all. His pipe weapon fares much better there, and only really works as a pipe. You can have him hold it like a gun, but the barrel is bent to shoot straight up if you do that. Look, it's a pipe! He beats people to death with a pipe. Why would you want to change such a perfect, well-rounded quality? So I like this robot mode a lot, and I like the posability. I guess a lot? Not really a lot, just shy of a lot. It's fine though. It's pretty good. His head is on a ball joint that can nod a bit, but it mostly serves to go left and right. There's not a whole lot of waggle there. He's got big ball socket shoulders with big cuts, so he can do this all happily. The transformation joint means you do have a bit of shrug power going on if you want to have like one shoulder slightly higher than the other for him to, I guess, hold his candle all holy style. He does have bicep swivels, and a simple elbow hinge that goes just over 90 degrees. The bicep chunk, that is the big color offender, and when it twists, it does jut out in a rather violent way. It doesn't bug me a whole lot, but be aware of that. It's like the robot equivalent of, you know, those figures, the superhero figures, when you twist their thighs and their thigh muscle just like separates like a sliced piece of cake. Anyway, his wrists are detented, and I don't know why, but they are. Doesn't really help a whole lot for posability or transformation, but there you go. He has a waist swivel, and despite all the stuff hanging around his waist, especially on the back, it's completely free to turn left and right, and I'm real happy about that. That's some smart dimensions. He's got ball socket hips, which have a decent amount of Van Damme-ativity, and generally, are good for jump kicking. He's got knee joints that bend, again, just a bit more than 90 degrees, and thanks to his proportions, when he bends his knees, like, it really looks like something's happening, and that makes me feel good. He doesn't have ankle tilts or anything, because he kind of barely has feet, although I could give you quite a long dissertation on why those are somewhat accurate to something from a cartoon, but because they are sculpted for a slight A stance, it means that between that slight slant and the enormous amount of ridge surface area that is touching the floor, he's very solid to pose, I find anyway. And I've had no problem getting him to do what I want. Like, I could have used double joints, I guess, in the elbows or knees, but having them bend a little bit past 90 degrees does so much, I super don't care. Like, this is easily one of my favorite Combiner Wars Deluxes to play around with, and I like them a lot. This is one nihilist that I would ask out to the robot prom. You know what? That's going somewhere that I don't much care for. So, you know how Breakdown's leg mode was kind of just a car with its hood folded down? Dead End as a leg is that, but you can adjust the hood by propping it up with the windshield flap if you want a bit more of a kneecap or knee pad appearance. Otherwise, yes, he is a car that makes for a very nice shin mass. Dead End's arm mode is quite interesting, with some specific guidance tabs to put his own smaller arms into a V-shaped position. It causes those smaller arms to come really close to banging into the main Menasor torso bulk, though, so be ready to fan mode things a bit if you find yourself running into clearance issues. Other than that bit of messiness, Dead End makes for a decent car parts arm, though I've heard reports from other folks that some Dead Ends have legs that just don't want to tab together. I guess I lucked out on mine. Given how much I love this figure, I really have to point out that he ain't perfect. His unpainted bicep chunks are a bit of an eyesore in every mode. He lacks feet despite my rampant apologism on the subject. Also, I really don't get what's up with the loose grip he has on his hand-foot gun in robot mode. But I love this figure! Dead End is one of my favorite standalone Combiner Wars figures to date, and I've got everything from the first 3 waves. His car mode is solid, his transformation is fun and interesting, his robot mode looks sexy and poses decently, and he comes with a friggin' pipe. Yes, I am real happy with the fact that this mold has been retooled and redecoed at least 3 more times beyond its nihilistic debut. Anyway, this has been Internet Personality Vangelus, and maybe I did just let it slip out that I have Defensor, and maybe you don't follow me on any social media or listen to the TFW podcast to have already known that for weeks, but there are still Stunticons left to talk about. This is a science, and we must be scientists about it. Proper working order. Otherwise, the universe will implode, and we won't get to see what the next 15 live-action Transformers movies are. We have to preserve this pristine, perfect, prime timeline.